All right, friends, greetings and welcome to the What's Right show. Today's Friday, the 13th of June. Yes, obviously very fluid situation developing in Israel on the ground, approximately 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night there as we speak. You may have heard that Iran has launched a barrage of missiles at major population centers in Israel, hitting downtown areas of Tel Aviv. There's, at this point, no clear indication how many victims there were, if any. Air raid sirens obviously sounding there. People have shelters under these buildings. So, hopefully everybody made it to safety. Now, today on the What's Right show, I want to take you through everything that happened yesterday and into today. And I just want to preface our conversation about this with my thoughts and prayers with everyone in Israel that is in harm's way. We stand behind you here on the What's Right show and hope that everything works out. So we have, obviously, last night, sometime after I got off air, Israel launched in the middle of the night a targeted attack on key installations in Iran. Sites included the Natanz uranium enrichment facility. So this is a significant facility used to enrich uranium. It's a key facility to Iranian uranium development. Okay, vital, obviously, for the establishment and creation of a nuclear devices. The strikes also hit sites in Kandab and Khoramabad, and then the Fordo fuel enrichment plant, which is also the nuclear research site. All right, so this that significant infrastructure related to nuclear development. Also, military targets were hit. Ballistic missile factories, air defense systems, for example, radars, surface-to-air missile launchers, etc. At one point in the morning hours, it was reported, and there's video out there, of Israeli aircraft brazenly refueling over Iranian airspace. So in a matter of hours, the entire infrastructure of air defenses in Iran were obliterated to the point where Israeli jets, felt safe enough to be able to slow down and refuel mid-flight. Absolutely spectacular. Residential areas were hit. These were targeted strikes in neighborhoods in Tehran where senior military officers resided. There were some civilian casualties, but a number of key military personnel overnight were eliminated. Major General Hossein Salami. This is the guy who's the head of the IRGC. He's dead. Major General Mohammad Bagheri, the Armed Forces Chief of Staff, was also reported as killed. Major General Ghulam Ali Rashid, commander of the Khatam al-Anbiya Joint Forces Headquarters, also a casualty of the attack. Nuclear scientist Fareydun Abbasi, former head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, and Mohammad Mehdi Taranshi were among at least 6 nuclear scientists killed in the strike. 200 Israeli fighter jets, including F-35 stealth jets, were deployed on the mission. Now, some people who are describing this, the military capability of these F-35 jets, although they are stealth, when they are carrying bombs, apparently, my understanding is they're less stealth, particularly the large bombs required to target some of these heavily fortified installations. So, and then there's the story of the drones that the Mossad, Israel's elite spy agency, covertly created. They built a drone base inside of Iran, which they in turn activated during the operation to target ballistic missile launchers. The drones were smuggled into Iran over months and then deployed at a key moment in coordinated sabotage missions. Long-range missiles were used as well. Some were launched from outside Iranian airspace and even through Syrian airspace. One of the big stories here, of course, being that Syria appears to be cooperating with, aiding, in fact, Israel's operation overnight. So what is the impact of all of this? Well, we don't know. There are obviously, we're waiting for information to come in great detail. The Natanz facility, which has long been considered a cornerstone of Iranian uranium enrichment, sustained significant damage, particularly to the critical underground centrifuge facility. So what does this do? It sets back Iran's ability to enrich uranium, which sort of puts a bit of a damper on their efforts to build a nuke. The IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, just reported a couple hours ago that radiation levels outside Natanz remained unchanged. There have been some reports of nuclear leakage. This obviously means that there was nuclear material at these sites, in these locations. So alpha particles detected by one agency. Anyway, just crazy stuff. Well, it was happening is my point, right? These facilities existed. They were enriching uranium. They were doing it underground. They were doing it in a means to conceal it and protect it against both inspections and military intervention. So the strategic purpose behind this, as stated by the Israelis, is to roll back the Iranian threat, plain and simple. So targeting both the nuclear enrichment facilities and also the weaponization capabilities. One thing to create the nuclear material, a separate thing is to convert it into an armament, a bomb that can be placed in a warhead, etc., and propelled. You see these warheads, these missiles are hitting Tel Aviv. Barrage of about 150 conventional weapons launched at Israel. I think the good news is it's evident that the weapons are not nuclear capable as of yet. So it seems that Israel was well informed that the capability had not already been achieved, had not already been weaponized, but that certainly that this would have in time have occurred. So, look, folks, let me be clear. Two things. Number one, when this all began to unfold, and in the lead up to this, there are a number of prominent voices, conservative voices, MAGA voices, that are telling us this is going to lead to World War III. Now, look, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know where this all goes, but I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. If we're dealing with a strike by Israel that is designed to achieve maximum results in terms of the stated objective, which is to roll back nuclear capacity. And the second, right, is, and they're doing that with a minimum loss of life to the Iranian civilian population. Now the next step is what will Iran actually do, and what are they capable of doing? Are they capable of really at a sustained rate to continue to up the ante here in their response to Israel? I don't believe that's the case. This was going to be the big answer. Today's the big answer. What did they do? Well, Iran did predictably target specifically civilian centers in Tel Aviv and elsewhere across Israeli territory. What did it achieve? Not a whole lot. How many more of these missiles can they afford to send? How many more of these missiles do they even have? Israel took out quite a bit of their retaliatory capability. If this all peters out, if Iran is degraded in its capacity to wage war, its ability to produce in the foreseeable future a nuclear weapon, if in fact senior leadership in one fell swoop is eliminated the way it has been, It will take Iran time to regroup. In fact, if anything, it could be a fatal strike at the heart of the Iranian regime. And if that occurs without boots on the ground, without American military involvement, this is great news. And it ought to be celebrated. The Israelis' moxie here will be a benefit to the entire world. And it seems that Trump has played a little bit of a game here, publicly denouncing or refusing to support Israel, while in the background, certainly giving it a green light. None of this would have happened, I'm convinced, without that green light. And Axios reporting, which I'll mention when we come back, suggests that Trump was in on it from the very beginning. If so, great poker play. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
I'm the best.
Personal injury law has been the same for a long time.
The best.
Big egos, greed, and sleazy schemes. We've had enough. Welcome to Sam & Ash, the new standard for personal injury law, where things are done the right way, because you deserve a team that delivers real support and results. When you have both, your whole world can change. Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
Greetings and welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Welcome to the What's Right show. You can reach me, Sam at what'srightshow.com, or on X, formerly known as Twitter, at What's Right Sam. All right, Axios reporting that Trump was deliberately deceptive in the weeks and months leading up to last night's attack. He has since spoken to the media about this. Now, by the way, what is that deliberate deception? Well, Trump has repeatedly publicly claimed that he is against the attack, to the extent that he received a number of notable rebukes from Israeli-friendly conservatives and Republicans. This has been going on now for months. So according to Axios, the president had, in fact, been back-channeling with Israel and had given his approval for this action, while at the same time leading the Iranians to believe that it was the desire of the U.S. president, the administration, and America that this attack not proceed. When you combine this with the duplicity that the Mossad employed, for example, they lured these head guys all to a meeting and then took them out. Yesterday on this program, I mentioned that there was a sixth round of negotiations scheduled for Sunday for the 15th. And Witkoff had that set up. I think the Iranians felt very comfortable that the attack would not happen when it did. The element of surprise was strong. Now, Trump had a conversation with Dana Bash at CNN. Dana relaying the conversation to her host there on CNN. You can see they both look very dour about this, but it's just classic Trump. Listen to what Trump told Dana Bash, according to her, just in the hours following Israel's attack.
He responded by saying, quote, "We, of course, support Israel, obviously, and supported it like nobody has ever supported it." And then he went on to say this: "Iran should have listened to me when I said, I gave them, I don't know if you know this, but I gave them a 60-day warning, and today is day 61. And then he said, they, meaning Iran, should now come to the table to make a deal before it's too late." And then he said something really noteworthy. He said, "The people I was dealing with are dead, the hardliners." To which I just wanted to underscore. So what you're saying is Israel has now killed the people who you were dealing with. And he said very sarcastically, they didn't die of the flu. They didn't die of COVID.
So, Mr. President, CNN here. So can you confirm to me that Israel murdered these poor Iranian generals? Trump's like, yeah, well, I can tell you they didn't die of COVID. Folks, we don't deserve him. That's too good. And you got to listen to the host here, or watch it if you're able to see the video. They just look so dejected, because that's another element of the story, right? As Israel is launching this immensely successful operation against Iran, a number of Democrats across the country, I would say a significant majority of them, are literally rooting for the mullahs. They're rooting for the Iranian generals, the head of the IRGC. They're even saying stupid things like well, okay, well, now I guess China has best moral authority out there. Well, we play the clip. Tim Walz gave this speech on Friday, today. Listen, absolutely bananas.
A tweet from the president today said, I told them they should have done something, and now here we are. Yeah, here we are with the Middle East back on fire in a way that is now expanded. Iran has to retaliate in their mind, I'm sure. And now, who is the voice in the world that can negotiate some type of agreement in this? Who holds the moral authority? Who holds the ability to do that? Because we are not seen as a neutral actor. And we maybe never were. I don't want to tell anybody that. I think there's a lot of people that say you always leaned one way in this. But I think there was at least an attempt to be somewhat of the arbitrator in this. We saw President Carter do it with Begin and Sadat. We've had certain wins along the way that were actually mutually beneficial both ways. Now I ask who that is. And I mean, consistently over and over again, we're going to have to face the reality. It might be the Chinese.
Well, of course they're the Chinese, because Tim Walz is bought and paid for by communist China. Also, I love bringing up Carter in this. Imagine you're a Democrat. Imagine you're a low IQ Democrat voter, and you actually liked Tim Walz. Like, he was your idea of, toxic masculinity done right. So you're listening to him, and you're like, yeah, Carter. Remember when he sat down and Sadat in Egypt, and the Israelis and got a peace. Carter's the retard that gave us an Islamic Iran. Like, yeah, we are in this predicament because a number of Democrat presidents did not see and have not seen the threat that Iran is to the world, starting with Carter, and then certainly Obama and Biden share an outsized, have outsized blame for causing this situation, because if it weren't for Obama and the billions and billions of dollars that, by the way, Obama in his 8 years and Biden in his 4 released to Iran, where they were convinced that in order to reach peace, whatever that was in the Middle East, that they needed to give Iran the bomb. We keep forgetting this. We forget that it was the policy. They didn't come out and say it, but it was the policy of the Obama and Biden administrations to aid quietly the Iranians to get the bomb, because the people inside these administrations despise Israel. And I wish, to the extent that if you are a Jewish American and you care a little bit about Israel, at least maybe you care about Israel not turning into a nuclear wasteland, how in your right minds can you vote continuously for the people who if left to their full devices would have seen to it that Iran had the means to wipe Israel from the face of the earth? This is an inconvenient truth, but it's all there, and they've admitted to it, all the people behind the scenes, and this tidbit and that tidbit, they've all said it. Tim Walz. Ooh, well, maybe China can forge this peace. Yeah, China. Okay. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Back in a moment. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the What's Right show, powered by Sam & Ash Injury Law. I tweeted out yesterday, by the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, I'm not mad. I'm just saying you should. At What's Right Sam. If you don't have an account, just create an account. You can be anonymous. You don't have to post anything, but you can follow people that you like. For example, you can follow me, or you can follow Tucker Carlson. In fact, I suggest you follow both of us. And the reason I say that is because there has been a lot of disagreement in the House of Trump, in the MAGA sphere, about Iran particularly, and Israel. This is a tweet, what is this, minutes ago, 1:21 p.m., our time here in Las Vegas, Tucker Carlson writing on his X account, quote, "The real divide isn't between people who support Israel and people who support Iran or the Palestinians. The real divide is between those who casually encourage violence and those who seek to prevent it, between warmongers and peacemakers." Who are the warmongers? They would include anyone who's calling Donald Trump today to demand airstrikes and other direct U.S. military involvement in a war with Iran. On that list, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Rupert Murdoch, Ike Perlmutter, and Miriam Adelson. Oh, leave Miriam out of this, Tucker. Oh, I love Miriam. Okay, at some point, they will have to answer for this, but you should know their names now. Close quote. Now, maybe I'm somewhere, Robbie, I'm somewhere in the middle of this. I was watching Mark Levin on Sean Hannity's show last night when all of this was breaking. I have my thoughts on, look, Mark's show will be on after mine, so you can hear from him, different point of view. I have my disagreements with Sean, and I certainly have them with Mark. I am all for Israel doing what they did. I love it. Now, I'm not casual about encouraging violence. I just think that this move, in the sort of long game gambit of what is likely to come based on a risk assessment, I think that the world will be a safer place and fewer people will die if Israel is successful at kneecapping the Iranian regime. And what do I want my country to do? Well, I want us to sell our weapons to Israel. I want Israel to be armed to their teeth. Bunker buster bomb? You got it. Need a specific missile? You got it. And certainly I think we ought to be providing everything that Israel needs in order to operate its vaunted Iron Dome defense system. Am I? I was a little awkward moment yesterday because I got a little bit excited. I was like, okay, Israel's acting. If Israel is acting, it means that they've done the calculations. They've figured it out. Israel can't afford to misfire. So, and so Israel can't afford to do that. So this means that things are looking pretty solid. But then I said, shoot, I'm finding myself on the same side of this as Lindsey Graham. Well, I wrote that on Twitter, right? I said that today we would have to have a therapy session. I generally am not on the same side of things as Lindsey. I'm just saying. Senator Graham and I have our differences. Lovely man. Met him several times. Lovely person. Just we disagree on a lot. There's a middle path here. And then you've got the crazies in the MAGA sphere. You've got the Candace Owens. I know, Robbie, you sent me this one tweet. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull this one up because I mean, she is absolutely, she's, well, of course, she's bananas. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up. Where is it? Oh, yeah, here we go. Our foreign policy, Candace Owens, our foreign policy is dictated by Israel. Trump will continue to do as he is told by Netanyahu. If you want to know what America will do, spare yourself the fake White House press briefings and start listening to Bibi. We're a colony of Israel your politicians are bought and paid for. Here's my question. Candace Owens is the one who's running around thinking that the President Macron's wife is a man. I mean, she's got a lot of faults. I don't think that's one of them. Candace Owens has 6.9 million followers. And I think this kind of insane talk, gets people's attention. Now, my comment on all this, and there's been a developing story on this for the last few days, a lot of stuff, other things going on, but it's, we don't have, uniform thought on the right the same way that the left does. There's a British Psychological Society study doing this. They use network modeling to research attitude identity relationships in polarized political contexts. And what they found is that on the right, there's all sorts of disagreements. That certainly is true right now on this topic of the Middle East, isn't it? The left are all lemmings. They get their marching orders. They wait to see what it is that they're going to all agree on. And then they sit there and they all agree on it. And like lemmings that end up, following each other off of a cliff and committing mass suicide, so too does the political left here, specifically in America, have done that exact thing with, the Biden presidency, where everybody had the same talking point. Nothing wrong with him. Sharp as a tack. No, he's pep in his step. He's asking probing questions. All of that stuff, those were all talking points. Everybody agreed on the talking points, and they mindlessly regurgitated them for the sake of their political survival. And it wasn't just the people that benefited from it directly. It wasn't just the people inside the administration. It was all of basically the left, the political commentators on the left that all did that, all together in tandem, in unison. Those of you watching this on Spotify or on YouTube, I've got this figure out. This is the basically a visual representation of this attitude network described in the piece. You see all those data points, all those great. Look at how much more expanded it is in the red, representing the political right, than it is in the blue. The blue is a tight cluster. They're all right talking about one thing. I love the fact that I find myself at times disagreeing with Tucker Carlson. I don't have to agree with Tucker to respect him. And I honestly love the fact that I can watch Sean Hannity and I can listen to Mark Levin, the great one, and have my total disagreements with them. And I love that many of you listen to my show and then you listen to Mark's show. That's good. And that's one of the best things about Twitter. You can go on there, you can go on X, and you can follow all these different people that you have some amount of respect for and get different opinions. Because we are not mind-numbed robots, as Rush over and over again would describe the political left. We are not like that. We think independently, and it's okay to question our leaders. I think we ought to do more of it. But here on this particular topic, I have to be very clear about how I feel. Do I want to see America drawn into a protracted war? No. Are we going to? No. I don't see that really happening. And Iran is so isolated. What did I report on yesterday? Like, Tucker isn't even getting into the fact that the most epic thing occurred less than a day ago, 36 hours ago, maybe tops, where the UN, first time in 20 years, slapped down Iran over failing to meet its obligations under the nuclear treaty. Even the UN sided with Iran over Israel. And the reason for it is that even the UN saw that Iran was so dangerous and so frightening that the risk of a nuclear war, well, with mullahs in Iran armed with nuclear weapons, was something that they were willing to shelve their massive levels of anti-Semitism to take a stand against it. It was just enough cover for the Israelis to act. The biggest tell that Iran was close to a bomb was that the UN came out against them. And if that is, now I believe that to be true. So if that's true, right, this was the time to act. And it's not the time for us to sit around and go, oh, people cheering on violence. I'm not cheering on violence. But I know that the UN loves nothing more than to side with Iran over Israel all the time. But even their bias here had to take a back seat to this looming existential threat. And that is what the story is about today. Everything else is noise. But it is good that we on the right have our disagreements. It's okay. And I'm just saying I might be more right than they are. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. The What's Right show is brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Sam Mirejovsky here, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, behind the What's Right microphone, live and local, coming to you from beautiful downtown Las Vegas. The calm before the storm. I think tomorrow is the No Kings rally. I was eating lunch at a downtown restaurant today. I'm not going to tell you which one, but I'm eating lunch there, and the runner comes, the guy bringing me my lunch, comes over to me, and he looks like he was attacked by one of those meat mallets, you know, they pound the veal chops with. This guy looked, his whole face destroyed. So he leaves, and I'm sitting at the bar, and the bartender tells me, "Oh, don't mind. Yeah, I saw you looking at his face." He was involved in the protest the other day. I'm like, "Oh, the one downtown, the anti-ICE protest." And he said, "Oh, yeah, okay." Apparently, he'd been arrested. His face did not look good, let me tell you that. So more of that is going to be happening here in Las Vegas. My same promise stands. If this gets out of hand, we know who you are. If you're coming here to break windows, to cause damage, to put small businesses in harm's way, don't even think about it. This is not California. This is not LA. Governor Lombardo is not Gavin Newsom. You will be tracked down. You will be arrested. And all of us that give a rip about this city and about our state will use whatever political influence we have to make sure you are prosecuted to the full extent of the law. That's what we're going to do about it. You want to come here from LA and start smashing windows? Well, guess what? We'll find you. But you don't have the DA's phone number. I do. Okay? And it's going to be me and 100 or so other people like me that know him that are going to be talking to him about you. And it's going to be a bad, bad day. I promise you that. Okay. Look, this is my warning shot. All right? By the way, here I appear to be on the right side of the Iranian-Israeli debate because Bernie Sanders just released this banger 30 minutes ago on X. Quote, Netanyahu's illegal unilateral attack on Iran risks a full-blown war. Illegal unilateral attack on it. Okay. These strikes directly undermine the U.S. diplomatic efforts to address Iran's nuclear program. Is that how Bernie would pronounce it? Program. Talks were planned for Sunday, but Netanyahu chose to attack. Yeah, Bernie, it's called the element of surprise, you dumbass. We must not be dragged into another Netanyahu war. Just come out and say it. You're a Jew-hating pig. Just say it. And Bernie Sanders, I know he hates it. I don't get it. Robbie, honestly, this is insane to me. By the way, aren't liberals traditionally, right? I mean, if you think about it kind of in a historical context, aren't liberals against nuclear proliferation? Like, if in a different context there were pressure and force applied on some country out there to get rid of their nuclear weapons, Bernie Sanders would be the first to give up our nukes. Anyway, yeah, Bernie Sanders just hopes that the alligator eats him last. Let's feed some other Jews to the Islamist alligator, hoping it will be full before it's just little Bernie left behind with his little mittens. That's exactly right. God. Oh, my goodness. Okay. No, right now it's quiet. It's quiet in Tel Aviv. What's the latest report here? I've got Fox News on a separate screen here, so it's sort of mission control here in my studio. Yeah, it's the initial deluge has calmed. Now, speaking of the full neocon position, here's John Bolton today on CNN talking about what he wants to see in all of this. John Bolton, of course, is someone who would have bombed Iran a long time back. Don't always agree with Bolton. What do you think of this?
I believe the United States should be helping Israel conduct these attacks. The Iran nuclear weapons program is not an Israeli problem. It's an American problem. It's a problem of global nuclear proliferation. We let it go on far too long. What the United States needs to do now, although I don't have any idea whether the Trump administration will do it, is provide all the intelligence we can on what Iran's response might be, get American forces into the region to defend Israel, to defend our deployed forces, to defend our Arab friends in the Gulf region. And then also we should be beginning to plan phase 2 of this. Given the destruction of the Israeli military facilities, it's now time to think of the campaign for regime change in Iran, because there will never be peace and security in the Middle East until that regime is gone. I think the Israeli attacks could well constitute a major destabilizing consequence inside Iran as the people look at what the Ayatollahs and their followers have brought to the country.
Oh, let's get some regime change. Look, if it happens organically, if there's and I assume there is, some form of robust opposition that is underground, obviously, in Iran, and there's, of course, a large and very sophisticated and vocal Iranian diaspora around the world, many of them right here in the United States, that I am certain are providing material support to the extent that they can to any opposition to the regime in Iran. Let them do it themselves. What's the need that these neocons have to just get in there? Oh, let's do another Iraq. Let's prop up another government. Let's have them be our puppets. No. Let Iran be Iran. Don't mess with it. Messing with it, like Jimmy Carter did, gave us the Ayatollahs to begin with. Stop. Notice this is the difference. Israel comes in, you've got clear targets. We're hitting these 12 or 14 bad guys. We're hitting these military installations. We're taking out this radar. We're taking out those ballistic missiles. And we're going for the heart of uranium enrichment. That's a defined goal. And it's actually very limited in scope. Then the Iranians do what they do. They begin foaming at the mouth, having convulsions, and begin shooting their little missiles everywhere. This is bad. Obviously, Israel in high alert. But you know, so we're in a war. But this, you know, it had to happen. But let's not take this, right? This again, I'm giving you the different reactions that people are. We don't need to go in and start planning phase 2. Bolton, from his, comfortable suburban house somewhere in Virginia. Oh, phase 2. It's time for phase 2. No, I don't think it's time for phase 2. I think I would just let this play itself out. And yeah, I mean, look, I think we should supply Israel. I think we should see to it that they have what they need. But honestly, I think Israel's handling this better than we ever could. All right, friends, another hour of the What's Right show up next. More updates live and local here on News Talk 840 KXNT, the What's Right show, brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Sam and Ash, 702-820-1234, because you deserve what's right. Greetings, friends. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone, 12:05 a.m. in Tel Aviv, Israel, as we speak. Emergency crews there on the ground assessing the damage caused by the several missiles that made it through Israel's Iron Dome defense system. Those missiles, unfortunately, did hit buildings and residential areas. In looking at the damage, it appears to be extensive in the areas where those missiles hit. There are some injuries being reported. As of right now, I do not have a confirmation of any loss of life. Presumably, there was warning for these missiles incoming, and there are sirens that go off in Israel. There are bomb shelters everywhere, so just hoping everybody made it safely in to those bunkers. Now, I'm on the email distribution list. My son is scheduled to play in the Maccabi Games, which is the Jewish Olympics, next month in Israel. My intention is to travel to Israel in July. I'm looking forward to that trip immensely. I can share something to you. This is just you can imagine just a heartbreaking email to get. He writes here, this is from the coach of the team. I'm not going to share everything here, but I just want to let you know, as we are all aware of by now, the situation in Israel is very dynamic. Israel believed that Iran was about to achieve a critical threshold with respect to nuclear military capabilities and acted accordingly. As anticipated, Iran has retaliated with drone strike missile attacks. Where this winds up is uncertain. And goes through some of this stuff that is about the team that I'm going to stay, I'll keep private, but I love this ending in the email. So, this is from the coach. Stay calm, be supportive, and be unbelievably grateful for the life you were born into. If you could say a prayer or put some good energy to the universe, it wouldn't hurt. This is exactly right. To some extent, it sort of boggles my mind that we would have both liberals and some conservatives be so vehemently opposed to Israel defending itself. You're going to say, but Sam, this was an offensive action. This was an attack, a kinetic attack on Iran. So I have a question. Have you been paying any attention to what Iran and its leadership says about what they intend to do to Israel militarily? Because I don't know. I'm actually on X, on Twitter. I've mentioned this to you many times. Okay, follow me on Twitter, at What's Right Sam. Now, you can also follow on there the Ayatollah himself. By the way, this was the comedic thing. Remember when Trump was booted off of Twitter by previous management? They literally, a sitting president, in the hours following January 6th, cut Trump from Twitter, closed his account. They canceled him. They let the Ayatollah's account stay active. That's how bad the liberals are. Anyway, I'm just digressing. So you can go on there today and read what the Ayatollah has to say, because the new management at Twitter says everybody gets to speak, even people that we absolutely loathe. And that of course, includes the Jew-hating, suicide squad over there in Iran. The things that they say about Israel on a fairly regular basis is terrifying. They talk about the full and complete destruction of Israel. So I have a question for you. Is it really so outlandish to take people at their word? If you have a neighbor making threats against you to annihilate you, and they are simultaneously working on a weapon that could do that could achieve this, don't you think that perhaps you should do something about it if your intention is to live? That's what this is about. I don't know. I mean, to me, this is just supremely logical, and I've always made this program about common sense. Do we need a land war, taking, or do we, what? I mean, I understand that the neocons, on the other hand, right, the other extreme of this, John Bolton played a clip from him last hour, are salivating over the thought of taking over and doing what they did in Iraq. Bang up job that was, guys, doing what they did in Iraq, doing that in Iran. I'm not suggesting we do that. I'm just saying that there is something here that has to be done. And by the way, keep talking about what the actual Iranians are doing. I'm seeing all these pictures of Iranian, in Farsi, signs in the country where clearly opponents of the regime are saying that they support Israel. Right now, as we speak, I predict that there are more Iranians worldwide supporting Israel than there are supporting the mullahs. The only people supporting the mullahs are retarded American liberals. Yeah, throw in there the guys from Europe. Okay? The people supporting the mullahs are, Greta Thunberg. That's who's behind this, okay? And the Democratic Socialists, who are, in fact, now the Democratic Party. There's an Iranian-Canadian social influencer. Her name is Goldie Gamari. And she's a Canadian politician, activist. And she threw up this little video here. I'm going to play a bit of it. This is good. By the way, this is a subtle dig at some of the stupid people that are going to go out tomorrow across the country and protest. No kings. No kings. It's protesters. Listen to this.
I was thinking about the rising tensions between the United States and Israel versus the Islamic Republic occupying my birth country of Iran. And I'm noticing a lot of non-Iranians are speaking out and trying to defend the Islamic Republic. And they're basically whitewashing the crimes of a brutal Islamic dictatorship that has held my country hostage for the last 47 years. I don't know if you know this, but 10% of Iran's population actually live outside of Iran because the vast majority of us escaped. No normal person wants to live in a dictatorship. There's about, I would say, maybe 90 million Iranians in total. So that's about 9 million Iranians who live outside of Iran, mostly in Western countries like Canada, United States, elsewhere.
Mostly in Los Angeles. Just kidding.
Where to all these people who are supporting the terrorist Islamic Republic and trying to whitewash the crimes of a brutal Islamic regime, where are the protests by Iranians? Where are the Iranians who are in Western countries organizing demonstrations to protest against the West, protest against Israel or America or whatever? You can't find any. They don't exist. That's not a bug. That's a feature. And I'll tell you why. Because unlike the pro-Hamas crowds who go out and simp for terrorists and cry intifada and are very anti-Semitic and try to destabilize Western societies, there's a very good reason why you're not going to see any demonstrations by Iranians. That's because we're not a bunch of inbred, savage, jihadi, terrorist sympathizers. Think about that.
There it is. I'm now joking about the LA thing because, I grew up in Southern California surrounded by Iranians. And they're great people. It's the crazy Islamists actually are not. I mean, the Iranians that made it to the West are great people. Now they're not very Islamic. They're not very religious. That's the feature, right? But the people that are running the country, the mullahs, the ayatollahs, these people are part of a death cult. Giving these people a nuclear weapon is like letting your little child play with an AK-47. Okay, here, little Johnny, here's an assault rifle. Pew, 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 right? No, I don't think that's a good idea. And notice what she says about all of these white liberal people going out there and protesting against ICE, Hamas, no King's Day tomorrow. How many people on the streets of Las Vegas will be no kings protesting, wearing keffiyehs and shouting, from the river to the sea, from Mexico to Palestine, whatever. Trust me, it's all part of the same mental problem that leftists have. And nobody actually cares. Nobody's actually asking real Iranians, what do you think? I mean, whose side are you on? They're all like, yeah, Israel's here. Woo! Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT, the What's Right show is brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel sends a message to the Iranian people. The people of Israel and Iran have been friends since the time of Cyrus the Great. He's calling on them to regain their freedom from the regime. This is the right approach. And you'll notice, by the way, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and the administration have echoed similar sentiments, overtures to the Iranian people, making this fight about the regime and not the civilian population. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840, KXNT. Now, I want to point something out here that bears mentioning. It's a small little thing, but it could be a slight problem. One of the things that the Israelis did was create or build up drones that lay dormant inside the Iranian territory and use those drones to simultaneously knock out key installations across Iran before fighter jets launched their aerial bombardments. This has been something being prepared for many months, if not years. I don't know if you followed the story of the farmland across this country, particularly near military bases, that has been picked up by China via various shell companies. China has accumulated many, many acres of American land across the country. We've been talking about it. Others people have been talking, drawing their attention. Well, now it becomes, I think, somewhat clear what the intention is. Remember, Ukraine did something very similar. They had drones that were dormant inside Russia's territory, and they activated them. That's how they were able to attack Russian military bases virtually undetected. So here's the thing, right? Here's what I'm getting at with this, right? We have to do something about this Chinese land across the country before it's too late. Now, thank goodness, right, we have Trump in office and not Biden or Kamala, because then all hell would break loose. Biden couldn't even get the balloon out of the sky. Ooh, look, it's a Chinese balloon. Ooh, looks like an ice cream cone. That's how I picture it went down. But you get the point, right? I mean, the Democrats are toothless when it comes to China. Yeah, this land is a problem. You know how easy it is to conceal on farmland, on, in or in wooded areas. I assume some of this is covered by trees away from prying satellites. How easy and, few thousand acres it would be to conceal, say, 2,000 drones, each armed with a small bomb. It's not inconceivable. And together with, I think, other offensive means that China would have, for example, monkeying with our grid or electric grid, we're not in a good position here. We are a soft target. We're America. We don't think that we could possibly be struck on our territory. So that's a problem. The other thing that is being reported is that there are a number of Hezbollah sleeper cells that could very well be in the U.S. The number that is being reported is approximately 900. And then, of course, look, I mean, again, think of all of the shipping containers that come from China. I don't want to overstate this. We had an open border. We have lots of shipping coming from China. We have Iran allied with China. China would love to use Hezbollah as proxies and hit us here in the U.S. via a terror attack so that it's not an action done directly by China, but would create a problem, obviously, and be crippling to the U.S. economy. It would also test American vulnerabilities, then to be studied by the Chinese army. So these things, to me, I mean, if you link up the rising concern of Hezbollah units across the country, together with this farmland and all the shipping containers coming from China, the next few weeks, I hope nothing happens, but could prove eventful here at home. So we have to be very vigilant on this stuff, and we also need to see things clearly for what it was. And again, it comes back to the fundamental problem that Barack Obama, even right before he left office, almost $2 billion sent to the Ayatollahs in Iran. As Obama is in the late stages of the Obama presidency, and Trump comes out, there's a pallets full of cash delivered on a plane, and everybody screamed and shouted how idiotic Trump was, that he was making things up. And guess what? It was all 100%, real. All of it. Confirmed. And after the embarrassment of that, the same people that orchestrated it then went to do it again, brazenly, during the Biden administration, and even went as far to say in the hours before October 7th that the Middle East has never been quieter. Everything's great. It's just unicorns, okay, and rainbows, and everything is just wonderful, kumbaya. Meanwhile, they had just successfully funded one of the most disgusting and vile terroristic attacks in the history of the world. The Democrats have no shame in any of this. And by the way, the same tactics, right? The same idea of destabilizing Israel and putting power behind the suicidal fanatics that run Iran. This is the same idea behind funding all of these street protesters. And I want to get a little bit into this still with the No Kings rally being held tomorrow. It's also coming here to Las Vegas. There's planned protests. I'm hearing from people that folks are coming into town for this. They're ready to make a showing of it. And this is not LA. I just want to be very clear. This is not LA. Do not expect that you will get away with things here the way you might in Chicago or in San Francisco or in Los Angeles. Simply not the case. So we will get to all of this. And Representative Anna Paulina going out and talking about this. And it's really, I got to play this clip when we come back because it is absolutely solid and great reporting. And ICE needs to continue their efforts. Again, this wide open border, this is the reason why there's likely Hezbollah sleeper cells in the U.S. Biden let them all in. And for what? Well, just a little bit of political power, right? It's really shameful what Biden, Obama, and their merry band of despicable Democrats have done to this country. Wow. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Folks, I'll be back in a moment, bottom of the hour news, and then more of the What's Right show, powered by Salmon Ash Injury Law, up next. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Greetings, friends. Welcome to the program. This hour of the What's Right show brought to you by Salmon Ash Injury Law. In a crash, call Salmon Ash 702-820-1234 because you deserve what's right. So, No King's Day nationwide protest planned for mañana. Well, if we're protesting against ICE detentions, I felt that maybe saying it in Spanish would be helpful. Regardless, this is going to be the Summer of George 2, the sequel that nobody wanted. And by the way, when we're on the subject of no kings, may I politely remind you that the Democratic Party rigged a primary in 2016. Well, Hillary Clinton was selected not necessarily by the vox populi of the Democratic population. But anyway, then we had that pesky little Russia collusion hoax that ran for pretty much the entirety of the Trump presidency, working to undermine the victor of that election. Then 2020 comes along. The pandemic is used as a pretext to steal the election. A shadow government is then installed in control while a mentally unfit, weekend at Bernie's president is propped up as figurehead of the regime. Then in 2024, lo and behold, the same party that now is organizing a No Kings protest against Trump gave the nomination to a candidate that not one person voted for. And now in 2025, it's all about fight the oligarchy and no kings. These people are comedians. So, okay, well, the protest is all organized, right? The New York Post ran a piece that said that some of these migrant protests are fueled by taxpayer-funded groups with Democrat ties, some with the Chinese Communist Party funding. Okay, you've got CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. This is the NGO that keeps getting all this government money, got $34 million from the state of California. If you are a sucker that pays taxes in California, some of the very money used to destroy your cities is coming from you. I hope you feel good about that. So anyway, yesterday, Representative Anna Paulina, a Republican from Texas, said that these protests are anti-American. They're funded by anti-American groups. This is in a House Oversight Committee hearing on sanctuary state policies. You know, a lot of people say, well, this is exactly right, because this is exactly what is happening.
The internal memo that was released that stated that the government of China considered you a prime target for influence operations. I'm letting you know that now because I do believe that you should be made aware of, if you are not already, that you are working with and going to be speaking at an organization and rally that not is just funded by Christy Walton, the heiress of Walmart, but also has ties to the Chinese Progressive Association, largely funding it, that actually brags on their website that they are pro-Maoist. Also, too, funded by the National Endowment for Democracy. I know there's a lot of people on this committee that don't like billionaires interfering in politics, but say nothing when George Soros gets over $260 million from USAID through the last administration that's then funneled into some of these nonprofits and organizations. So I guess my question for you guys is, now that I've made you aware that these riots are not about illegals and they're not about immigrants, if they did, they would have been protesting under Barack Obama, who's also dubbed the deporter-in-chief. And frankly, I think many of you would say that Barack Obama was a good president. Are you going to say that Barack Obama wasn't a good president? Yes or no, Governor?
So now she asks the question to Governor Walz, right, Tim Walz?
Governor Walz, do you think he was a good president?
Do I think Barack Obama was a good
Correct.
president? I think he did a good job.
Okay, how about you, Governor Pritzker?
I think he did a good job, yes.
Hochul?
Hochul, and yes, he did do a good job.
Okay, next. Perryman?
I think President Obama did a good job.
So then you would understand that Barack Obama had the very same policies, for the most part, on immigration that Republicans are parroting today, and yet you guys are sitting here saying that we're Gestapo. And what I would tell you is that what happens with open borders is that the real people that are coming here, the ones that are exploited, actually it hurts people on both sides, not just Americans, but the illegals. Some of you had said here to the actual committee that you are doing what you can to assist these people. But what I would say is that your policies aren't actually done from a place of understanding and sympathy. I would say that it's actually doing the exact opposite. And when you use brown people, just like they use black people with BLM and Marxists during BLM to usher that in, when you use brown people and you put Mexican flags with them saying that you stand up for illegal immigrants, but you follow the money and it's going back to the Communist Party, what you're essentially doing is using your platform as elected officials, the trust that the American people have put in you, essentially to usher in communism. You're not actually fighting for American values. Don't roll your eyes, because it's a serious topic and that's where the money's coming from. So now I'm informing you, so now you guys can make your decisions, but please be informed, sir, Mr. Walz, that if you truly do uphold the American ideologies and perspectives on the Constitution, you should not be speaking at that rally.
Well, I don't think Tim Walz really cares about being labeled pro-China. But that was a fiery speech. And incidentally, it doesn't look like she's reading it. She's just like barreling all that out. You go, girl. I mean, Congressman Paulina, very, very well done. Now, just before this, Tom Emmer tells Tim Walz that his leadership in Minnesota has been a complete and total failure. So this was also a banger of a statement, as Walz is sitting there looking like he's ready to coach some high school football.
In May 2020, looting, acts of violence, and arson occurred on your watch in Minneapolis after you refused to bring in the National Guard. Governor, your agenda is clear: free health care, free college and driver's licenses for illegals, while handcuffing law enforcement when they're trying to protect our citizens and their communities. If you think that's not a sanctuary state, you shouldn't be governor. By turning Minnesota into a magnet for illegals, you have opened up our communities to dangerous criminals, including known terrorists, gang members, murderers, and child predators. You have sent a resounding message that if you're a hardworking, law-abiding citizen of Minnesota, your safety and well-being are not the priorities of Tim Walz and his administration. But if you're coming to our state illegally, you're not only welcome with open arms, you're entitled to free stuff on the taxpayer's dime. This is absolutely disgraceful. Governor Walz, your sanctuary state agenda has been defined by your utter failure. You have failed to enforce the rule of law. You have failed to uphold our national sovereignty. And most importantly, you have failed the people of Minnesota. The time for radical sanctuary state policy, sir, is over. The voters made that clear last November when they elected President Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance. You remember him, don't you? Governor, the time for real leaders and real leadership is now. And with that, sir, actually, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record the governor's tweet that I referenced from May 23rd, 2018, which makes it clear his hatred for federal law enforcement.
Well, this is good. Make him listen to that. You can have a little puckered bumhole there as he's getting, reamed by Republicans. Whatever. Well, yeah, he put tampons in the men's room. Maybe he can use those to clean up the mess. Okay. This is the playbook tomorrow, folks. All these Democratic governors are sitting there taking their lashes from Republicans, but they're going to go ahead and allow protests to get off and be violent tomorrow because they want violence in the streets. Their marching orders is to let it burn. Now, can they get away with it the way they got away with it in 2020? It's a question, right? Well, Trump was president then, but was in a completely different position. Trump's far more stronger now. And it's not just that he's won the popular vote. I think also just he knows where how to use better the levers of power. And they have gone through and cleaned up the federal agencies in a way that Trump hadn't gotten to cleaning things up at the stage of his first term in office. So I think there's that. But they want this violence. I don't know if you saw this assault on the ICE agents. There's a facility that was basically overrun by these protesters. And watch this clip. I mean, you see, I'm just going to talk over this and lower the volume. You can see that this is a mob and pushing past federal officers and storming basically the grounds of this facility. Now they're trespassing on federal property. And you see how, this is people are going to get hurt. Now, do you see how many of the protesters are wearing keffiyehs? Look at these little Hamas supporting punks. This isn't about ICE. This is about Marxist revolution. That is the hell. It's not even about Palestine. It's down with the West. And why is China supporting this? Because it is an exercise of a type of soft power. They can create this kind of havoc inside the U.S. By the way, you think that we as Americans could ever get away with this in China? They'd have everybody rounded up in 10 seconds. That's the cost of having a free society. I'm not arguing that we should have the Chinese system. I don't want that kind of surveillance. I don't want a social credit system. I don't want Trump partnering with Palantir to do that. I don't want any of it. I'm just saying that you can't be naive and believe that this is all just happening spontaneously. Masked thugs in keffiyehs all spontaneously showing up to overwhelm ICE agents just happened to be there. We got the memo. We saw a post on TikTok or on Blue Sky, which is kind of devolved into a Democrat-type grinder for these losers. All right, Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. God, got to keep a little bit of lightness here with all the sad news today. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840. The What's Right Show will be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. This hour brought to you by Sam & Ash Injury Law, because you deserve what's right. Moments ago on X, formerly known as Twitter, Matt Walsh writing, quote, Israel is its own country and perfectly capable of taking care of itself. We do not need to be involved in this and should not be. Okay. Our country is under invasion. Our cities are besieged by crime and dysfunction. Those are the problems we should be focused on fixing. Our priority needs to be our people need to be protected and prioritized by the leaders we've elected. There we go. America first, always. Okay. Yes. It'll be a problem when Iran has a bomb that they smuggle into the U.S. I mean, look, I'm just telling you, it's not that far away. Death to America isn't just one of those chants that you sing, when you're just getting up and feeling feisty. So let them be. I'm not saying we invade them, right? I'm just somewhere in the middle of the MAGA on this. I'm saying let's help Iran do our dirty. Let's help Israel do our dirty work vis-a-vis Iran. It's helpful to us. There's a net benefit. No boots on the ground. Let's let them take care of it. They're doing a great job. There we go. These guys. And by the way, I want to also, can we focus on the fact that we've got these Chinese military installations all over the country? I'm convinced of it. Big problem. Now, China is aiding and abetting these protests. There's no question about it. And I mentioned yesterday TikTok. Here is the same exact TikTok social media message getting repeated by multiple influencers over and over again, amplified by a platform run by the Chinese. Listen to this.
Being in a country that you're in illegally is a civil offense, not a criminal one. You know what else is a civil offense? Jaywalking.
And being undocumented is not a criminal offense. It's a civil one. And if you've ever jaywalked, congratulations, because you've also committed a civil offense.
Have you ever sped over the speed limit? Have you ever drank or smoked underage? Have you ever drank and then driven a car? What about jaywalking?
Being undocumented in America is a civil offense. It's not a criminal one. It's the same caliber of crime as a traffic offense.
Just a reminder, in case anyone forgot, being undocumented is a civil offense, not a criminal one.
If you've so much as littered on public property, I never want to hear, oh, but they broke a law, as a justification for your hate.
Ugh. The absolute state of young women in this country. It's a parade of women I'd never want to sleep with, Robbie. And I say that as a committed heterosexual. Look, but they're all saying the same thing. They don't all know each other. They're all deploying these videos, but the Chinese Communist Party, using TikTok, is amplifying these messages. And I mentioned yesterday, what is it? 1 million views on TikTok for a video nets you about $600. So if you're an influencer, I don't care if these stupid chicks agree with what they are saying or not. That's really not the point. The point is they're trying to rack up millions of views to get paid. It's all about the Benjamins, baby. You're taking blood money from the Chi-Coms to stab your own country in the back. That is the absolute state of things. Now, what about this dust-up with Senator Alex Padilla? That's an interesting development, too. Here's the video of him. He was not wearing, he took off his Senate lapel pin, his security pin, that members of Congress use to identify themselves in the Capitol and also at press conferences, events, whatever. Security personnel, federal law enforcement is trained to identify that pin. He took it off, and then he basically took a lunge at Kristi Noem at a press conference the other day. Well, you know this has caused quite a kerfuffle. Here's the video.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted.
I mean, I am Senator Padilla. Do you know how many people come charging at people? I'm a congressman. I don't know. I follow politics pretty intensely. If Senator Padilla came into my office, was sitting in the lobby, politely, not causing I wouldn't recognize him. I mean, I'd recognize Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris. Biden wouldn't know who he is, so it wouldn't be any help if I didn't recognize Biden. It'd be a problem because wouldn't get a lot of help from him. There's people my point is there's people I would recognize. There's people that I wouldn't recognize. And if you're security working for Department of Homeland Security, do you know what some obscure Democrat senator looks like? And he's in a t-shirt. This guy looks like a threat. Now, if you are working close protection and you are a bodyguard, for lack of a more central focused term, you're there protecting the secretary. You're going to ask the questions later. And what did they do? They pushed him. They took the threat and moved him physically away from the secretary. And immediately, in a cacophony of coordinated messaging, the Democrats all screaming about this. The whole thing was planned. The whole thing was concocted. My gosh. It's also... and then the propaganda games begin, and you see headline after headline all saying the same thing. Oh, my God. This is an absolute police state. Trump is a fascist. They're arresting senators now. At least Cory Booker had the decency to just talk for a long time. Jeez. Spartacus, having some decorum. Padilla, this was a stunt, top to bottom. So, we have a lot to talk about next week. I'm praying, obviously, for Israel that she and her people may be safe this weekend. And I hope that as MAGA conservatives that we can find it in our hearts to support Israel in these dark hours. I have no doubt of Israel's survival in all of this. And I think that the mullahs' days, the ayatollahs' days in Iran are numbered. Sam Mirejovsky, News Talk 840 KXNT. Sam at what'srightshow.com is my email. At What's Right Sam on Twitter, on X. Sign up for X this weekend. You want to follow these events. Much better than watching Fox News. Trust me. All right, see you Monday. Over and out, folks.